Today it's Easter 2016. I'm talking about electrolyzed water, state-of-the-art research and development. And my thesis is, going mobile is the missing link to its better popularity. In the 1920s, first patents were given to inventors who tried to improve drinking water by electrolysis. At that time, the only difference between Catholic and Nordic water was a change in the pH level, when engineer Alfons Netterer in Munich discovered a third kind of electrolyzed water that was created in a chamber without electrodes between the cathode and the anode chamber. There was no significant change in the pH level, but there were some unknown abilities that convinced some doctors that it was beneficial for health. He named it hydroperil and registered it in 1937 as a pharmaceutical specialty in Germany for treatment of metabolic diseases. Later also, the alkaline and acidic electrolyzed waters were registered, and Natterer's company NABA sold 3 kinds of electrolyzed water under various names in pharmacies until his death in the 1980s. Netterer was in close contact to Albert Riedel, an American doctor and specialist for spagyric medicine who tried to establish the electrolyzed water therapy there. But Riedel later, under his name Fra Albertus, became a famous alchemist and did not reach medical authorities. So his arguments were not realized in the scientific world. In the 1960s, Natterer found out that mixing the alkaline and acidic to neutral pH was beneficial too. So there was no longer need for the neutral hydroperil. What really happens in neutral hydroperil is an enrichment with a small amount of hydrogen gas, as we know today. This can be achieved by mixing the alkaline and acidic type too. So it is not necessary to produce it in a third chamber in the middle. In Japan, the company Suno, based on the ideas of Machisu Suga, developed 2 sorts of functional water in the 50s, acidic and alkaline, using a classical electrolysis cell with 2 chambers and a diaphragm. At first, the main purpose was agriculture. In the 60s, alkaline electrolyzed water was officially approved as a medical substance for treating intestinal diseases. Acidic electrolyzed water was looked upon as a weak astringent for beauty purposes. Based on this, in the 1960s, a new industry branch began to produce so-called water ionizers for using at home for healthcare. The concept was still the same: alkalinity and acidity. The era of pH aspects ended in the 1970s, when the Russian engineer Witold Bakier realized an abnormal oxidation reduction potential, ORP, in electrolyzed water. This ORP could be changed to a higher grade of anomaly when salt was added to water before the process of electrolysis. At first, the alkaline water was called living water, and the acidic water was called dead water. These terms are mostly used for catholyte and anolyte made from a saline solution. Later, the term electrochemical activation, ECA water, was established by Witold Bakier. The so-called Tashkent team, under the guidance of Stanislav Alyechin, developed medical instructions for using both kinds of ECA water for the treatment of the most common diseases. In the Russian world, anolyte was mainly established as a disinfectant solution based on its abundant content of hypochloric acid. In the 1990s, Japanese researchers began to focus their interest on hydrogen, which is dissolved in the alkaline electrolyzed water. Only a few natural waters have a remarkable content of hydrogen. Mostly they are known as healing waters. Hydrogen can be found in atomic and molecular form in a few waters, as well as in alkaline and neutral electrolyzed waters. Within the decade from 1997 to 2007, it was discovered that both forms of hydrogen have antioxidant abilities. So, dissolved hydrogen became known as probably the most interesting benefit of alkaline electrolyzed water. Molecular hydrogen gas is the reason for the ORP anomaly of alkaline electrolyzed water, which is extremely low, down to a level of minus 800 millivolts. This corresponds to a level of 1,800 micrograms of dissolved hydrogen gas. Such a high level can technically only be reached with diaphragm electrolysis, which makes it possible to remove all dissolved oxygen. Because oxygen, of course, is the direct enemy of antioxidant activities. The growing knowledge of hydrogen gas being a health benefit, proven in an emerging number of scientific research papers concerning more than hundreds of the most common and dangerous diseases, induced at first some new technical developments in the ionizer industry, namely the so-called Hayashi stick, which uses metallic magnesium to dissolve hydrogen gas in normal drinking water with a chemical reaction. On the other hand, devices for simple electrolysis without diaphragm technology were developed, so-called hydrogen-rich water makers. The chemical method and the simple electrolysis method in one chamber have their natural limits in the presence of dissolved oxygen. It cannot be removed this way. Concerning the electrolytic hydrogen-rich water maker's oxygen content, which is simultaneously produced with hydrogen, it is even increased. Looking at tap water in different urbanizations of the world at the beginning of the 21st century, the situation was rather strange. All modern water ionizers were made by Japanese or Korean companies and adapted to their regional tap water, which is really easy to electrolyze because it's extremely low hardness and mineral content. Most producers even took a lot of care in preventing their devices producing a water that is too alkaline. In most other parts of the world, namely in Europe and the USA, tap water had much more minerals and hardness. So the water ionizers from Japan and Korea did not work properly there. In the United States, the very popular Dr. Robert O. Young, who promoted water ionizers for many years, was frustrated by the lack of function and called water ionizers a failed concept because the devices did not produce a proper pH level and American housewives were not trained to descale a water ionizer. So what they really got was filtered water, but it was not as alkaline as hoped. German housewives have more discipline and were shown in instruction booklets how to control and manage the pH level by reducing the flow of water. Korean producers offered new water ionizers with more electrodes, but they changed the water flow from 50 to 50 to 70 to 30% of alkaline water. So the effect of more electrodes was nullified. Finally, in 2015, we could convince some producers to make ionizers more efficient. And there are some good technologies for descaling to delay the still necessary procedures of manual descaling. So at least in Germany, the concept of water ionizers was not failed. Why is the market not growing faster? In 2004, a water ionizer was too expensive for most people in Germany. Our first target group were pensioners with chronic diseases. But within a decade, the price has even been doubled. Since 2008, we focused on younger clientele with higher incomes. Nevertheless, many young experimental customers prefer to buy a cheap batch ionizer made in Europe, which is offered by a Lithuanian company, or the BTM 3000 batch water ionizer made by the Korean company Biotech. The market doesn't grow as expected because there are no good products for a cheap entry. Batch ionizers have an obvious disadvantage. Production of electrolyzed alkaline water takes a long time. During this time, sometimes 60 minutes, water gets warm and hydrogen goes out. An oversaturation with hydrogen is only possible under pressure and with cold water. To make it competitive with a flow device, there should be no air above the water where hydrogen gas can evaporate. To make it competitive with a flow device, there should be no air above the water where hydrogen gas can evaporate. Why do we need oversaturation with hydrogen? That means more than 2,500 micrograms per liter. Because, in my opinion, water ionizers cannot be established if one thinks only of drinking water. Most people hate water drinking, I mean pure water. So, I developed the concept of the redox revolution. Oversaturated hydrogen water can transfer hydrogen and its antioxidant abilities to the human body. Within some seconds, it can be transferred to the blood and distributed to the body to reverse oxidation processes anywhere. But it can transfer these abilities to any food as well. Hydrogen can even pass an eggshell and stop the oxidation processes inside within 30 minutes. Just by soaking food, fruits, meat or vegetables for some minutes in oversaturated hydrogen water, you can reverse its aging. Aging means oxidation, and it's the main problem of our food industry, with long chains of transport and storage. Food quality directly depends on a low ORP, and that means dependent on hydrogen content. Another way is stirring in powders like baby milk powder or dietary supplements. And last but not least, creating your own healthy drinks by mixing concentrates with oversaturated hydrogen water. Even a Coke gets better. Think of apple juice and orange juice, tomato juice and everything people are used to drink. The beverage industry does nothing else. They mix concentrates with water and distribute it as a complete product, but they don't use the good water. We can make it better. Reducing the oxidation damage when harvesting, transporting and storing food. An orange juice made with orange concentrate and oversaturated hydrogen water has a better quality than freshly pressed oranges from the market. That's the fundamental point. How many tons of cargo transportation can be saved worldwide when we start this revolution? How much carbon dioxide is not blown in the atmosphere? The only problem we have to solve is to make water ionizers available for everyone. First, we have to win the social elites over. This is the focal point of my book, Electroactivated Water, an invention with extraordinary potential. The next step should be to create a market for beginners, but also for customers that are already familiar with the ionizing technology. It is easy to improve batch ionizer technology. We just have to prevent hydrogen from outgassing during the process by simple pressure management. How to do this is already shown by devices like this. These devices have no diaphragm, so they cannot produce oversaturation with hydrogen. So we have developed a similar device containing a diaphragm. I already tested some prototypes. It works even with the very established USB voltage of 5 volts and can create oversaturated hydrogen water within 30 minutes. I mean, it works with hard tap water from Germany. So production time will be much shorter when we use water with a low mineral content. We all know the biggest problem with electrolyzed water. Its relaxation period is very short. When hydrogen gets the chance to evaporate, half of it will within 3 hours. The ORP quickly goes up to 0 or even positive values. So if you have a stationary water ionizer at home and fill your bottle before you go to work, you have no chance to drink in the afternoon and get oversaturated hydrogen water. How to keep it ever fresh? Produce it where you are. This is why a small mobile ionizer is needed, using a charging technology that is present everywhere today, USB. Almost everybody has a smartphone in the pocket. You can make it a little bit smarter if you use it for charging your water ionizer. My claim for this is recharge your life. This is exactly what happens by infusing hydrogen in the body. What we also have to find is a mobile filtering technology for tap water. Maybe too easy to change containments for activated carbon inside are the solution. So this would be the ionizer for the smartphone generation. We should be the first guys to produce it. It's a simple idea. When mankind realized that the Earth is not flat but round, it was obvious that one can sail to the west. Someone has to be the first to do it. And here I show you my ideas about that in a film. Thank you.